Welcome back, one and all, to RealMyst Masterpiece Edition. Last time, we started going through the library to check out what appears to be Atrus's surviving journals. As we can see, a lot of them have been damaged. Here we go, the Stone Ship Age. Emmett was the first to live on the rocks. He named them the rocks because that is what they were, a group of sharp rocks clustered together in the middle of a large sea. This was where Emmett lived. He enjoyed his life. Emmett would occasionally swim to nearby rocks, as it was never too far of a distance. One day another person appeared on the rocks for no apparent reason to Emmett. Emmett named this new person Branch. Emmett and Branch quickly became friends, swimming and hunting for fish together often. Emmett showed Branch the simple cave in which he lived on the largest rock. Soon, Branch discovered a place where he decided to live, also on the same large rock. The sun always shone brightly in their world, and their water was always dazzlingly clear, allowing them to see almost to the deep ocean floor which surrounded them. Though the sun always shone, it was never too hot for the boys. A light breeze always came from the north and cooled the area down. One day, while Branch was swimming and having fun in the water, he noticed another boy swimming. Branch brought the new boy to Emmett to find out what to call the new boy. Emmett said the boy should be called Will. Will was soon a part of the group, and all three of the boys swam and enjoyed their perfect world. At least, that is the story I was told when I arrived today on the island. Emmett, Branch, and Will were surprised to see me at first, but even before the night ended, we were all becoming good friends. Today, the second day on this newly created age, a strange thing happened. It was not strange to me, but the three boys did not understand what was happening. While I was relaxing under a large tree on one of the smaller rock islands, it began to rain. It was a nice rain that lasted for about an hour in the morning. I explained to the boys that the rain was not harmful, yet they obviously still feared it. Before going to sleep tonight, I told the boys I would leave the following day. I told them that while I was gone, I would make a surprising change in their world. They didn't understand. Not that I expected them to. So clearly Atrus has some level of measure of control over these ages. And as an aside, I do not intend on actually having, like, this is probably going to be like a bonus video, because I don't believe that you really need all the information from this to complete the game, but you do kind of need it to fully flesh out the story of the world. So I would very much encourage you not to skip this video, but, you know, if me reading is not something you're into, I understand. I still do not fully understand what happened today. I was experimenting with the art, testing the limits of the rules as dictated to me by Father. I attempted to create a boat by writing it into the world. I thought everything was planned correctly, yet somehow the boat had become gripped by the rock and broken in half. Although this test did not turn out as I had hoped, I now have answers to a few of the questions my father never answered. As for the boat, I can see the boys enjoy it anyway, and with that I am pleased. They have played on it all day. Even though the boat cannot move, I have enjoyed studying from it. It is a much sturdier platform than the jagged rocks. In the course of my observations, I have learned some very interesting things regarding the solar system of this age. And we see a description, a diagram of a submersible lamp. The nights are absolutely beautiful here. I have made note of and named a number of constellations that pass above me. Also during the night, I catch glimmers of light from the horizon which I have not been able to discover, if it is created by some natural phenomenon or by additional people on far-off islands or rocks. I should very much like to discover which. I rather suspect it is additional people, which would explain the appearance of both Branch and Will. The rain today was slightly heavier than usual. Just when the boys were getting used to light rains, a small storm arrived. They were frightened of the heavier rain, not to mention the thunder and lightning. If rain has never fallen here until recently, as the boys tell me, I would like to discover why it is falling now. Regardless, I have decided to return home for a short while. I have also been thinking of some plans for a lighthouse that I hope to construct soon. I think that perhaps by shining a bright light toward the horizon, it might prove my suspicions regarding additional inhabitants. They would be curious about the light and travel to discover its source, if they have the means. I have returned with many tools that I will need for the construction of the lighthouse. I have decided that once the lighthouse is completed, I will leave for some time and let the world's own imagination have control. So here we see another aspect of the art that not only is Atrus not completely in control, but it seems the world has its own imagination. So that is interesting. We have worked these 3 weeks on the lighthouse now and are making great progress. The rock that we are building on seems to not be as secure as I would like. I've had to alter my plans slightly, but those alterations pose no real problem. Here we see a description. It looks like that maybe the top. The boys are quite strong and have been helping me immensely. I estimate construction will be done within 2 days. The lighthouse is finished, and we are all proud of our creation. The boys are amazed with the structure wrought from rock with their own hands. That evening, we powered up the generator, much to the boys' dread at first, and shined a great light to the horizon for many hours. I stayed the night in the top of the lighthouse, and in the morning awoke to observe the sunrise without my being coated with the chilly blanket of ocean dew I had become quite accustomed to. It was Will who first saw the girl. She was swimming not far from the boat where Will was getting ready to hunt for fish. Then Will noticed a man not far away from the girl. Emmett was pleased to meet the additional neighbors. I feel pleased to leave this age. I have set in motion events that have nothing to do with the writing or the art that will have a more profound impact on this world than I could ever have written. I think, and then there's a bird's eye view of the stone ship age, of it, this age as a, I think of it this age as a gift to myself that I will wrap up and open someday in the future, only to discover that it has changed so much that it is indeed a surprise. Besides, I have yet another new age that awaits me. It seems I'm going to need some way to travel underwater in this new age, and so much planning is in order. It has been 10 years since I left this age, which I have since called the Stone Ship Age. Upon returning, I cannot believe the changes that have taken place. The original 3 boys have grown into adults, and there are many new faces that I do not recognize. Branch told me that it has not rained for 7 years, and the cool breezes are back again. They are all very content and have been serving me with new foods and showing me new materials that they have discovered. It seems that they have found gold somewhere. I see it in many forms around the island. My lighthouse has been kept in perfect condition, and it looks as if they have tried their very best to keep it so. Yet I have noted that the entire rock it was built on has sunk approximately 40 or 50 centimeters. So a rate of, 4 to 5 centimeters a year. After a wonderful visit with my old friends, I wonder aloud with them what things will be like here in another 10 years. Then we see some constellations, an anchor, an eye, a serpent, a bug, a cross, an arrow, a flamingo, and a leaf. Those match the patterns outside on some of those buttons that we passed. More burned books. More burned books. I don't question how these books are hovering over here. Don't do it, viewers. My immersion! Okay. The Selenetic Age. It has been a while since I have heard only silence, and I enjoy it greatly, I think. For some reason, I do not feel altogether welcome in this new world in which I have arrived. But how can I be unwelcome in an age with no inhabitants? It is, of course, only in my head. The world is very beautiful, but I think I have yet to ever write in a journal that an age I have linked to is horrid or disgusting. From the grassy hill where I am standing, I can see green fields below, along with a few scattered forests. A rather large lake looms some distance from where I am standing, yet the water's blue can be seen plainly from here. The air is fresh and the sky is sparkled with white clouds. It is absolutely breathtaking. And yet that strange feeling again. Perhaps it's the hot breeze that continues to blow from the north, hotter than I would have imagined. It almost singes my skin, and I feel quite uncomfortable when it comes. I will try to ignore it. Night has almost arrived, and the sunset is spectacular. Oranges and reds have settled above the western horizon. Though night has come, the horizon still glows red long past the sunset. Dark reds flow from the horizon and blend into the black sky. Again the feeling, and I am beginning to believe it is not all in my mind. I must sleep now. I will need my strength to explore more tomorrow. I have had to return home due to an unpredictable natural occurrence more frightening than I have ever experienced. I was awakened by terrible shakings in the ground and explosions on all sides of me. Gigantic balls of fire were falling from the sky, and I immediately left in fear of my life. I must remember to bring a mist linking book with me when I return, in case the one left there has been destroyed or damaged. I have returned to a different world than the one I left only 3 months ago. It has been transformed into a barren desert land with only gigantic craters scattered across the land to provide variety. Strangely enough, the small grassy hill where I spent my first night remains exactly the way I found it. Apparently, the falling meteors did not hit this area, leaving an oasis in the midst of this horrible desolation. The hot wind, I remember, has turned into a rather pleasant breeze, which is at least one improvement. I fear it is the only improvement. The magnificent lake I saw on my first visit is now completely dried up. However, another lake now exists and appears to be quite a bit larger. I assume one of the falling meteors created this lake due to its circular shape and the jutting rock that grows out of the center of the lake. The rest of this world seems like desert, although I will verify that statement with closer inspection. Though this world has little of visual excitement to offer, it offers much to the ears. Sounds constantly flow through my ears, and I have found where a few of them originate. It seems, as Catherine says, I do find beauty in everything. Last night I was awakened by a horrible hissing. I was sweating, and the heat was so intense that I immediately dipped my head in a nearby stream to cool it down. The hot breezes had returned, along with a low roar from the ground. Sounds like an evening in South Carolina or Texas. Many years of Texas summers. I hate the heat. I walked a short distance to observe some red flames shooting up from the earth. Suddenly the ground began to crack and a huge chasm opened. The chasm continued to grow until it was far too wide to cross. Then the tumult subsided, leaving only a dull roar. I have decided, however, I can use the chasm to my advantage. Perhaps the heat from the chasm can be harnessed. Oh, yes. Collect some heat from the chasm, somehow turn that into a directional source. Yes, yes. Even as the chasm has ripped into the surface of this world, it has opened up a whole new world to explore. Although uncomfortably hot, I found it possible to reach a cave in the chasm that had been created, and have now explored deep into the crust of this planet. I have found a vast underground cave system that will take many years to map and explore. I will also look for a safer way to reach the underground than through the chasm wall. This age seems to change on its own, so I feel I should leave again and see if things are different when I return. It is also important that I check on Cirrus and Achenar and make sure everything is going along well. When I return, I also hope to bring back some tools I will need for my plans to explore the underground. The abundance of raw materials here is beginning to amaze me. I have returned with some of the complex tools I knew I would be needing. I assumed I would have to return for more basic materials. However, it seems as though I will be able to find everything I need here. Of course, iron is abundant, but I have also found titanium occurring naturally. I am all the more excited to begin work. Everything is set, and I look forward to tomorrow. My raw materials are all here. I think I will be able to have most of my additions to this age completed within 1 year. I still love working with my hands, whether writing or building, and then the text begins to fade out. I began today on the bridge, and although, and then I can't read further. The magnetic idea will work well, and I have decided to, and then there's a diagram there, a dish. 3 meters is not enough support for the beams, although it is somewhat something. Amazingly strong. Oh, the spaceship. Maybe the spaceship is our link to the Selenetic Age. Has to be one of my most prized inventions. I am extremely. Could never have imagined it come together quite as. I doubt. Could possibly work with 14 instead of 8. Completely fatigued. I understand that. I am so happy to have completed. Tomorrow. Interesting that all those entries just kind of faded. And then we're left with normal text again. I am leaving today in order to bring back Cirrus and Achenar. I have left them alone in Channelwood. I believe that they will enjoy all there is to see here. The age seems to have stabilized. I believe the meteor set off a period of volcanic activity by piercing into the shallow crust, but the tremors have become few. I have just noticed that a large amount of this journal has curiously vanished from the very pages on which I wrote over the last 18 months. Wow, that's a long period to disappear. Fortunately, I have copied many of my construction notes in another journal. I do not understand the many mysteries of this world, but I trust I will discover logical answers to my questions. I have a feeling that many of my questions can be answered in another age, to which I hope to travel soon. But for now, I must simply accept this world's mysteries and take pride in my accomplishments. Huh. It's like a keyboard diagram here. Interesting. And I imagine this is a drawing of the Selenetic Age. And then that's the end of the book. Another completely ruined book. Yet another completely ruined book. Lots of ruined tomes here. But they may not all be horrifically damaged. Despite looking that way. And so we should be thorough and examine them. Again, don't question the hovering capacity. Huh, this is embossed with some squares. Oh. Bunch of square patterns. There's a lot of patterns in here. There are a lot of patterns in here. And if it looks blurry to you all, it looks blurry to me too. Wow, how many patterns are there? 256? Nope, we're way past that. 300? 500? 300. Huh. That's a lot. What book was that? Not that one. Far right. Okay. Bear that in mind. This book has a gear on the cover. Before arriving in this age, I was determined that it would be a journey to a world very different from my previous adventures, and it was. The sky here is dark and gray and incessantly displays flashes of lightning in the distance. I met a very old man with a long beard and hair that hangs to his waist. He is very feeble and has trouble even moving. This man has obviously been through very many things in this strange world, and I have learned many things from him. He has told me an interesting story of this world's history. Years ago, he told me, there was a beautiful city that rose up out of the water. It housed many people inside its walls, and the people had everything they wished for. Was it named Atlantis? The city was surrounded by 3 high hills which rose higher than the city. It was Atlantis, wasn't it? These people were mages. They had a mage war. Put away the storyteller's hat, broke. On the east hill of the city rested a large outlook post. The people of the city had constructed the post, expecting visitors to arrive from the east. The people had no means of traveling on the water, which forced them to merely wait for friend or foe. As time passed, friendly visitors brought rumors of an enemy that existed beyond the horizon. The people grew fearful, yet nothing happened. One day, the usually sunny sky became as dark as night, and black ships appeared on the horizon. The lookout post's attempts at peace were turned away, and the sentries there were easily overwhelmed. The ships continued to wreak havoc on the city, apparently destroying everyone and everything. After the foundations of the city were destroyed, the city sunk deep into the ocean, and only the lookout post remained. The black ships sailed away. The man continued to say that 8 people had hidden and managed to survive through the attack. In the 9 years since the attack, 2 of the survivors had died. He also said that it was rumored that 10 years from the attack, the enemy would return to finish the destruction they had started so long ago. I have decided, since hearing the man's story, it would be admirable to save this civilization and stop this enemy's plan of destruction. I am excited about the adventure that awaits me, and an idea has sparked in my mind to provide the needed defense for these people. I have met the remaining survivors today, and I have begun work on a plan for protection. And we see here a diagram of some description. Wonder if that'll come in handy later. It looks like there's a tube in a tube. Maybe an elevator. So if this rotates around, maybe this rotates to open up. I don't know. We'll find out. After a short absence, I have returned to this age with my 2 sons. They have, as of yet, traveled rarely with me, and they are understandably excited to be here. They have grown considerably since Evadunes, and it is already obvious to me that they will be a great help this time, instead of the nuisance they have been in the past. Atrus, really. All 3 of us, along with 4 of the healthier survivors, began construction today. We are building upon the city's old city's ruins, which will provide a perfect foundation for our fortress. My sons have been spending much of their spare time on the South Island, where most of my materials are stored. I'm very pleased with their intelligence, and their creativity is refreshing to see as they work on some small projects of their own. I wonder what that is. It looks like a diagram of maybe a staircase that, like, ascends. So maybe we'll find, like, a staircase that's built into the floor. It has been over 4 months now, and construction is going well. My sons love the world except for its gray sky. They detest the gray sky, and tell me many times they wish the sky here were like the blue sky in Myst. The old man I first talked to tells me that the enemy is due in 4 months, so it's taken them quite some time. I feel we will be ready when the time comes. The man reminds me of Emmett in many ways, and I often wonder how Emmett and his people are doing. It has been 6 months of work, and we have finally finished the fortress. It rests between the 3 hills, which are now only islands due to a rising water level that the people experienced after the attack. Inside the fortress, I have designed a most intriguing device. It makes use of a technology called holography I began experimenting with on my visits to Aspermere. It will be working in a couple of days after I compensate for some small miscalculations. This holographic device will enable the survivors to learn to use the fortress. And we see here, perhaps, a diagram of how you would manipulate this fortress. Like, you control power with the left knob, and then the right knob is somehow tracking or positioning. And it looks like there's peaks and valleys, so each cardinal direction has like a wallow in it. Perhaps. The enemy is due to come soon, and I trust the fortress will provide sufficient protection for all of us. Oh yeah, here's our fortress, and this is the track. So the track has, you know, the bits and bobs described there. Okay. The black ships have come. Their attack was substantial, their weapons have been stopped, and it appears they have turned away in defeat. Could not help but smile as I watched the boats leave. We see the insignia of a black ship. Last night we had a small celebration, and the old survivors danced their dances of old. My sons did not understand why the sky had not turned back to its original blue. The old man told them that the storms would never end until the enemy was destroyed. I assured my sons that a blue sky was not worth the risk of death, and they seemed to hear me. I have had a healthy adventure and have begun work on a new book. Once again, I must leave a familiar age in search of a new universe I have begun. But first, I will have an extended time with Catherine, whom I miss very much. I must also return to the people of the Tide. I believe in my travels I have found a substance that will ease the pain of their bone ailments that they have long endured. I hope to return to Mechanical Age one day, and find the population growing and my fortress still strong. Though the sky may always be black, I am confident the people here feel a heavier darkness has been lifted from their shoulders. Interesting. So even though Atrus creates these worlds, he doesn't necessarily fully understand them. He can write in certain things, but even then his ability is limited. Now, is that limited because of the rules of this art that he's talking about, or is it a limitation of his skill as a practitioner? You know, those are the questions. Still, lots of destroyed books here. So we've found out about Channelwood, Stone Ship, Selenetic. There's the pattern book, the Mechanical Age. Looks like there's a book that survived right here. That's in good shape. Rime, I have named it. A desolate age with a beauty that is quite different than I had expected or imagined. The intricate feathers of ice that fall from the sky are awe-inspiring. I feel as though I could sit and watch them for hours, and though it is cold here, like I've never experienced before, I find myself enjoying the change of temperature, for it is unlike any other place that I have ever seen. Perhaps the oddest thing is the silence. Although the wind blows on occasion, when it ceases, there is a suffocating silence that falls on this place, broken only by the distant cries of unseen creatures. I have visited 3 times, and am sure now that this age will provide the environment I need. I believe the cold temperature is necessary for obtaining the correct resonance. Examining the structure of the books is ever more perplexing, but I am driven onward by my need to understand. The great tree of possibilities can never be fully grasped, but I must at least try to find one particular branch. On the subject of enlightenment, I would also like to find the cause of the mysterious lights that shine in the darkness here. Though I never assumed that I would be able to build especially fast here, the speed at which I am progressing is somewhat disappointing. I do think I will bring Cirrus and Achenar here, as well as some of the machinery from Selenetic. Achenar chose to stay with Catherine, but Cirrus was rather excited to come. He has spent the last few days here with me, helping me with the beginning phases of construction. He too seems to enjoy the ice and cold weather. He is intrigued with the crystals that we have brought with us. He has been a big help, as have others, and I hope to be able to begin my experiments here soon. Tonight, Cirrus and I found a wondrous spot to view the lights, although it seems they decided to hide from us. After sitting in the cold winds for over 2 hours, we saw nothing. It was rather disappointing. Cirrus will return to Mist tomorrow. He has been a tremendous aid to me, and I'm thankful for his willingness to help. The hard part of the construction is over, although I have decided after tonight that I would like to add some kind of observation post. I won't be finished as soon as I had hoped, although I'm fairly certain it will be worth the delay in the long run. I've decided to take a break from the construction now that the tunnel is almost complete, and I have been able to set up a temporary space where the crystals will not be stimulated. I am quite convinced that with the right diffraction resonance, certain properties of the ink can be simulated, so it takes not just special books, but, or at least I assume these are in some way special books, but also a special kind of ink. Catherine still finds it absurd and thinks I'm crazy to assume I will be able to view ages with stones, but her unusual pessimism has not convinced me to stop trying. I came too close to success on Evadunes. I don't know why Atrus is suddenly picking up a slight British accent. Don't mind me, viewers. I'm fairly certain that now Now, the temperature indeed does have an effect on the crystals, but I have realized that temperature alone is not enough. The cold dampens some of the sympathetic harmonics, but a more active suppressor is necessary. I have acquired some geodes with a pure protected crystalline interior. Thin slices of the geode below each crystal provided a stabilizing effect, and even amplified the clean frequency slightly. After a bit of experimentation with the shapes and colors, I was able to capture a blurry image within a book. Though the link would never work, there was clearly an age on the other side. I can hardly wait to return and tell Catherine. I feel like I should finish the shaft to my observation post while I have the machinery here, perhaps tomorrow morning. The lights were beautiful again last night. They had not shown themselves for so long that I had almost forgotten their beauty. I still must find the cause. I'm feeling rather overwhelmed with what remains to be done. The crystals have not been perfected, the shaft is not finished, nor is the observation post or even lab. I have not seen Catherine for some time, and I long to spend more time with Akinar and Cirrus. Besides all of that, there are, far away in the back of my mind, the thoughts of my people and our lost city. I dreamt again of them last night. I have only seen the city in its worst condition, and still its beauty overwhelms me. Even now, as I visualize how majestic it must have been before the destruction caused by Viovis and Agaris, it amazes and saddens me. I am fairly certain that Denis is not dead as my father believed. I am convinced that there must be some who managed to escape the construction, and even now continue to survive in separate ages. Within me is an urging to take the chance to return to Denis, to find these survivors and properly rebuild our city. However, I can do nothing until I am certain of the fate of my father. If my plan failed, if I missed a single book when attempting to trap him on Riven, then he has been free all along. If that is true, then all that stands between him and the ages I have now written is the link from Denis to Myst. And as much as I wish to return to Denis without knowing the state of my father, I cannot risk re-establishing that link. I must observe my father without re-establishing that link. It has taken several years, and there have been many dead ends, but I have partially succeeded. Now that I have managed to view another age using the crystals, it is only a matter of time until I view Riven. At least I hope. Catherine will have her ideas about all of these things, and I miss her greatly. I will return to Rime later, when my mind has cleared, and then we see the images of it. Looks like the holographic chamber that we saw here on Myst. That book was not in the original game. If I press the shift key, you can see that the bookshelf here has no book for Rime. This is how it appeared in the original game. There is no book for Rime here. That, I believe, was added in the Masterpiece Edition as a way to bridge this game with Riven, the sequel to Myst, which, as it so happens, Cyan Worlds just released an updated version of as well. So, that is the end of reading time. Join me next time when we get back to some gameplay. I've been the Arcane Rogue, and if you enjoyed this reading time, let me know by tapping the like button, leave a comment. What's your favorite age? Let me know. What do you think? Are you excited to delve into the world of Myst? Join me next time as we get started. Until then, I've been the Arcane Rogue, and as always, I hope you have a wonderful day.